Good evening, everyone. I wasn't planning to do a broadcast today because I expected to be at the church celebrating Maundy Thursday in person with communion and foot washing and all that. But because there are massive power outages in the West Island and across the island of Montreal, but especially in the West Island, the church is still without power, and we regrettably had to make the decision to cancel the Maundy Thursday service this evening. That said, tomorrow the Good Friday service will occur as planned at 2 o'clock at Christchurch Bow Repair, also broadcast online, whether or not the power is back on. So I'm not going to do a Maundy Thursday service online. I've done those. I did those for 2 COVID years, and I think I just wanted to share a little reflection with you, just to mark the day. I don't know if you know who is able to get who has internet among my parishioners, but if you're out there and listening, here's a little reflection for Maundy Thursday. I want to read our gospel passage that we would normally read at Maundy Thursday. Reading from the Gospel of John, chapter 13, verse 1 through 17, and 31 through 35. Now before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The devil had already put it into the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "You do not know now what I am doing, but later you will understand." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to him, "One who has bathed does not need to wash except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you." For he knew who was to betray him. For this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." After he had washed their feet, had put on his robe, and had returned to the table, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example that you also should do as I have done to you. Very truly I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. I am not speaking of all of you. I know whom I have chosen, but it is to fulfill the scripture. The one who ate my bread has lifted his heel against me. I tell you this now before it occurs, so that when it does occur, you may believe that I am he. Very truly I tell you, whoever receives one whom I send receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me." When he had gone out, Jesus said, "Now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him. If God has been glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and will glorify him at once. Little children, I am with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and as I said to the Jews, so now I say to you, where I am going you cannot come. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. just as I have loved you. You should also love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. As I said, this is not what I was expecting to be doing at this moment on this day, and after these 3 years of pandemic, I thought finally I'm going to celebrate Maundy Thursday at church, preside at Maundy Thursday, because I haven't even had the opportunity to preside at Maundy Thursday since I've been ordained, because in 2020, COVID, 2021, still COVID, and 2022, I was all geared up for it, but then I got COVID. And I said, well, finally, this is the year. And lo and behold, wasn't COVID, but an ice storm. But when as I was saying those words to myself, actually, as I was saying these words to myself, for once I would like to have an uneventful Maundy Thursday. And almost as soon as I said those words to myself, I said, wait a minute. What am I saying? What are we actually talking about here? Because when Jesus and his disciples gathered in that upper room to eat the Passover meal, and I remind you that now our Jewish brothers and sisters are celebrating Passover as we speak. It doesn't always line up that way, but it lines up this year. And Passover is celebrated in the home as opposed to in a synagogue. So maybe it's appropriate that we're at home as opposed to at church. I don't know. But Jesus with his disciples were celebrating the Passover meal. Now, whether Jesus knew exactly what was coming or not, that's a theological debate. Whether Jesus knew all exactly what was going to happen. Different gospel writers imply that maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But that's beyond our knowledge, I think. Whatever the case, his disciples, except for Judas, his disciples thought that this was just an ordinary Passover meal that they ate every year. You go with your friends, with your family, you eat the Passover meal, just like we have our Christmas dinner or Easter dinner every year. It's routine. It was uneventful. At least that's what they thought. They expected to be uneventful. But by the end of the evening, it would take a turn. It would become very eventful, and not in a good way. Because by the end of the evening, Jesus was being taken away from them, and the disciples are scattering into the darkness, afraid, confused, afraid for their own lives. So that's perhaps the lesson for us, that when we plan, we want things to be just so, and just perfect and right. And then the world that we live in throws things at us. Now, luckily for us, this is just an ice storm that will be an inconvenience, hopefully not for more than a day or two. But for Jesus' followers, they were about to lose their beloved master. Now, we know the end of the story, and it turns out it has a positive ending, but at this point, it's looking pretty bleak. And tomorrow we will enter into that darkest moment on Golgotha and Calvary. as we meditate on the cross. So we are now in a time of chaos. Everything we don't, some of us don't have internet, some people don't have power, some people can't even use their phone. All inconvenient things, and it makes our lives feel a bit chaotic. That is nothing compared to what the disarray and confusion and hurt that Jesus' disciples experienced on that night, and the pain that Jesus experienced in the garden, the agony of that evening. So maybe things don't always go as planned, but the gospel teaches us that in the end, God sets all things right. But we're not there yet. We still have to pass through the way of the cross. Amen. Now, I'll leave you with this, because Maundy Thursday ends with no benediction. It ends in this disarray. So I'm not going to give a benediction, and I'm not going to give final greetings. I'm going to end with the last gospel, as we would normally read it in a Maundy Thursday service at the end. But I do remind you that tomorrow, Good Friday, 2 o'clock in the church, whether or not we have power, we will meet for meditation on the cross at Christ Church Bow Repair, 2 o'clock tomorrow. Dress warmly, because if the power is not back on, it might be a little bit chilly in the church. Not too bad, but do be prepared for that. I'm going to read our last gospel, and we will end in silence. Last gospel is from Matthew. Matthew chapter 26, verse 30 through Matthew 26, 30 through 46. Also, if you'd like to tune in to a full Maundy Thursday service this evening, our cathedral downtown is live streaming their service. They have power and they're having their service, so you can join that at the cathedral's website, and I'll put the link up on our Facebook page. Matthew 26, 30 through 46. When they had sung the hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Then Jesus said to them, "You will all become deserters because of me this night. For it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I am raised up, I will go ahead of you to Galilee." Peter said to him, "Though all become deserters because of you, I will never desert you." Jesus said to him, "Truly I tell you, this very night, before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. Peter said to him, "Even though I must die with you, I will not deny you." And so said all the disciples. Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee and began to be grieved and agitated. Then he said to them, "I am deeply grieved, even to death. Remain here and stay awake with me." And going a little farther, he threw himself on the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not what I want, but what you want." Then he came to the disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, "So could you not stay awake with me 1 hour? Stay awake and pray that you may not come into the time of trial. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." Again he went away for the 2nd time and prayed, "My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done." Again he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. So leaving them again, he went away and prayed for the third time, saying the same words. Then he came to the disciples and said to them, Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? See, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand. Mm-hmm.